Hey, y'all, what's up? This is Coach Paul. God has qualified me, and I'm bringing to y'all another Move Monday episode. As usual, y'all, before we get off into the content of today, I have to make sure that I say what I always say. And again, I strongly encourage you to get this into your thought processes, right? So that we can incorporate this into our lives. And that is, if you don't move it, it's going to move you. That, my friends, is a promise. All right. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Okay. The content of the day is inspired by something that I saw on a television show that I was watching that was a statement was made. First of all, the television show is disturbing to me. And there was a statement that was made on the television show, on that show, or a particular episode that was even more disturbing and unsettling for me. And so I want to talk about that today. Now, the name of this television show is called 1,000-Pound Roomies. Now, we already know from the title, it's unhealthy, right? I want to make sure that I note before I start talking about this, is that the two roommates who live together, it's two African-American, it's two Black women, and one of the women has a daughter. The Black women both are overweight. Both of them, let me say this, both of them, beautiful, gifted, talented. You can tell that they have extraordinary potential in them and some greatness within them. Here's the but. But they're living in a way that is so unhealthy that, let me say it like this. So one of the young lady who has the daughter, one of her friends was by, and in this particular episode, one of her friends was by, and she went and did a survey or a test. What it was an app that talked about the life expectancy based on your weight class. And when she got the results for the young lady, one of the things that she realized was, now this young lady is 40 years old, and with her weight, if it stays that way, her life expectancy is 44 years old. If she stays on that path with the weight that she has on her. So she has some concerns because, again, she said, listen, first of all, I need to be here for me, and I need to be here for my baby, so that I could be able to raise her the way that she needs to be raised. She doesn't deserve to have to go through life without having her mother, because her mother decided that she wasn't going to take care of herself and take care of her weight. So she said, I'm going to do some weight loss, get some weight loss surgery, so forth and so on. So anyway, in the process of the weight loss, to get the weight loss surgery, one of the things that a doctor had told her is that she said, I want you to see a therapist. Because one of the things that overeating is a whole lot like addiction to alcohol and drugs. And in some cases, it's a lot worse, right? It's a lot more severe in some cases. This is borderline one of those cases. And so this young lady, she's doing what she needs to do so that she can get to the place where she's healthy, so that she can be there for her daughter. So when they told her when her doctor said, go see a therapist, one of the things she had said jokingly to her roommate was, my doctor said she wanted me to go see a therapist. She said, girl, Black folks don't talk about their stuff. That right there was what stuck to me. And that right there was what disturbed me at the same time. Excuse me. Because one of the reasons, I want you all to hear this. One of the primary reasons why so many of us as Black and brown people miss our greatness, miss our extraordinary potential is because we have grown up and lived a lot of our lives with a whole lot of trauma that we have carried. Many of us, it started at childhood. And because we didn't have the resources to be able to go and see therapists when we were younger, accompanied with the fact that many of us grew up in households where they said, well, this was the rule. Don't talk about what goes on in this house. What goes on in this house stays in this house. So we didn't have the resources, accompanied with the fact that we were scared to talk about it because many of our parents, that's what they said. You better not talk about what goes on in this house. So she, even though she's in her 40s, she was raised with that rule. Black folks don't talk about their stuff. And again, the stuff that us as Black folks and brown folks won't talk about is the very things that's killing us and keeping us from our greatness, along with the extraordinary potential, right? And so that's what's a concern for me today, and I want to be able to have some conversations around that, because no matter what she does from a weight loss standpoint, if she don't deal with that trauma and all that baggage and the why she started eating the way that she started eating, it's not losing the weight. It's not going to benefit. You're going to be losing all the weight for nothing. What am I saying? Many of us end up going back and forth to that thing, watch this, that we know is killing us. And part of the reason why we end up back in the thing that we know is killing us and we don't like, many of us don't like it, but it end up being our go-to, our answer, our safe place, the thing that is normal to us. Reason why we do that is because many of us have not or are not or refuse to or don't know how to deal with why we started doing the stuff the way that, from an unhealthy standpoint in the first place. And like I said earlier, many of us as Black folks and brown folks were raised in those households that we kept this and took it to the grave with us. Unfortunately, the things that we kept and are keeping is taking us to early graves. So, like I said, there was a time that we didn't have the resources. Absolutely. Now, therapists are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. What we have to learn how to do so that we can move into the greatness that's within us and the extraordinary potential, we have to get out of the old mindset that was killing us. One of the things they have what we call man rules, right? And one of the things that I found out about man rules, I did this with therapists and counselors, right? One of the things that I found out about man rules, the man rules that was supposed to be designed to make us be strong men, was the thing that was killing us as men to begin with. And so those things that we had, I'm saying those things that we had been holding on to from a traditional and a generational standpoint, we got to move that stuff out the way. We got to kick that stuff out, because more often than not, that thing is killing us, and there are resources so that does not have to happen. That does not have to happen. Now, I want to say that the young lady went to therapy. Hallelujah. She went to therapy, and she talked about some of her why. She talked about being physically abused. She said there were times where she was punched, kicked, and beat like she was a man. She talked about those things. And she said, and you know what she ended with? She said she felt like a loser. and eating made her feel like she was a winner. Some of y'all out there know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all out there listening to what I just said know exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I felt like. I felt like a loser, and heroin made me feel like I was a winner. For all of those years that I snorted heroin, those things, and not talked about what was really going on, did not dealt with what was really going on, what was my why. That heroin that I put in my nose for those 30 years was that thing that took away me believing that I was a loser, me believing that I was not enough, me believing that I was not going to mount up to anything. That's what that heroin did. And it was killing me at the same time. And one of the things that I appreciate about this young lady is that she realized that. And she's doing what she needed to do to make sure that she changed that. Are you, black man, black woman, brown man, brown woman, who was raised with that foolishness of don't talk about what goes on in this house? Because like I said it in quite a few of my other episodes, I remember being in a support meeting back in 2004. And it was a guy who spoke, and he said, if you don't tell on it, it's going to tell on you. So it's going to tell on you. It's telling on her in a way that her weight is very unhealthy. She knows that she's not, this young lady she's young, she's beautiful. She can't even stand up straight. She has to walk bent over a wheelchair. She can't even sit in the wheelchair and walk with it. She has to bend over the wheelchair and walk with the wheelchair because her weight is so unhealthy. We have to stop this, y'all. We have to stop this because, and I'm afraid to get into the point, because again, like I said, these two young ladies that I got the opportunity to experience and watch on this television show, they're not slouches. They're not illiterate. They're not some dumb black or N-word girls that has no future, no get up and go about themselves. They're not that. They're not that. These are smart young ladies. One of them is building a business as the episodes go on. So they aren't what society will look at as throwaways anyway. But their lives are messy from an eating standpoint partly because they don't talk about those things, because that's what black folks don't do. We need to start doing that, because I want to say this. We need to start making this the norm. Why? Couple of reasons. Let me say it from the top. You have extraordinary potential and greatness in you. That's number one. And number two. Number three, there are our source, who is God, has given us the resources so that we can heal. You looking at one right now that has utilized. I always say this when I'm working with my clients, or when I speak at the treatment center. When I went into my sixth and last residential treatment, it wasn't a traditional residential treatment in that I would part of my curriculum, right, would have been the things that I would have been doing in there would have been based off 12-step package, relapse prevention package. It wasn't traditional from that standpoint. And that's one of the things that the counselor had told me as he was as we were doing the intake paperwork. And when he said that, I was like, okay, my man, what are we going to, if that's not what you're going to be giving me, what am I going to be getting? Because this is what I'm used to. And he said, we're going to deal with why. And I was like, what's that? Because that had never been introduced or spoken to me in that manner. And he said, the why of your usage. the usage itself is 10% of your issue. The drug abuse, alcohol abuse, eating disorder, gambling, pornography, whatever your addiction is, that's 10% of the issue. The other 90% is why you do it, right? And many of us, we continue to do the why because we don't heal, because we don't allow ourselves to utilize the resources that are available to help us to heal the why so that we can lose the desire for the 10%. Heal the 90, you'll lose the desire for the 10. Heal the 90, you'll lose the desire for the 10. How do I know? You're looking at it. You are looking at it. So I just wanted to say, we have to get out of what Black folks don't do. We got to get out of that. And here's another reason why. I want to go to a quote that is quite often attributed to one of my favorites. Here it goes. It says, the famous quote often attributed to Miles Monroe and Les Brown says that the graveyard is the richest place on earth because it holds all the unfulfilled potential, extraordinary potential, greatness, dreams, books, songs, and inventions that were never brought to life. Now, this is a true statement because I grew up in the projects of Chicago. And I remember when I was young, I saw some of the greatest basketball players that you would ever want to see on the basketball court in the projects of Chicago. Guess where they are? They never made it to the NBA. As a matter of fact, many of them never even got to a college. Many of them never even finished high school. And lots of them right now, they're either in their grave or they're living in a grave on earth. I'm going to say more about that later. I've seen many football players. It was one guy that we grew up with. His name was Calvin Lee. This guy, he was a left-handed pitcher. And this guy pitched so good that grown-ups were scared to be for him to pitch to them, because if he hit them with the ball, it was gonna hurt. But he was such an awesome pitcher. Never seen him in the major leagues, and I know he was 100% major league potential. 100%. Everybody that knew this guy knew that he was 100% pitching major league material. No ifs, ands, and buts. Here's another thing that I used to see a lot of. Many of you might know the movie Coolie High. Coolie High kind of depicted a whole lot of what went on in the projects of Chicago back in those days. I remember times where, we were, as kids, we would be walking down the stairs in the hallways, or up or down the stairs in the hallways, or just be in the building, period. And we would hear guys singing. Oh my God, doo-wops, duets. They would make, these guys were so good. They were singing Motown stuff just like Motown, and in some cases better. They were singing many of the artists that you all know of. They were singing their songs just like them, and in some cases even better. 100% of those guys that I just mentioned, none of them made it to their greatness. None of them made it to their extraordinary potential. And it was partly because of what that woman said about Black folks. Black folks don't talk about, and many of them had stuff going on, because there's nothing that's going to make me ever believe that you became an alcoholic before you was 18 because your life was good. Never going to believe that. And like I said, many of those people that I watched with my own two eyes growing up, I'm watching, and I didn't even understand at that moment, at that time, obviously, because I was young. I didn't understand that was the gift. That was gifts that they had. That was greatness that was within those people. That was extraordinary potential that was within those people. I didn't understand that then. I understand it now, and I understand that they took all of that to the grave with them. And like I said earlier, some of them are still here on this earth, and they're still so attached to what was that they're basically living in the grave on earth. None of them are moving in their greatness. And you can still sometimes hear some of these guys' voices singing. Some of these guys who was good at sports, they could be coaches and mentors right now to this very day because they were really good at what they did. But because the black folks don't do, many of them are still in their 50s and in their 60s, and their lives are still messed up. I was on my way there. I was on my way there as well. But when I was 48 years old, I said, I can't do this no more. There was a ringing and a tugging that was going on in me so strong that I just couldn't continue to live like that. And I didn't want to die. So I knew that I had to change. And listen, when I got that therapist, when I was in that treatment center in 2015, like I said earlier, I jokingly said when I do my motivationals at the treatment centers, but I'm serious. I said, when I got that therapist in 2015, I made that therapist make his money. I was in his office every opportunity I got, whether I was crying, whether I was laughing, whether I was shouting, whether I was screaming, excuse me, you name it. I did what I needed to do to deal with the stuff that hurt me from a child on up. I'm 58 years old. I still have a therapist to this very day that I see twice a month. And I do it, and watch this. If I got something going on inside of me, I'm gonna be able to have a conversation with my therapist about it. I'm not gonna hold it. What black folks don't talk about stuff, I don't live by that rule ever. Period. That's gone. I used to, it's done. That man rule stuff that we used to live by, I don't live by none of that, because a real man gonna allow himself to be vulnerable so that he can grow. A real man gonna allow himself to be vulnerable so that he can move into his greatness. A real man gonna allow himself to be vulnerable so that he can be able to move into the extraordinary potential that's within him. That's what real men do. And if it means crying, it means telling about you got raped when you was a little boy, whatever the case may be. You got beat, you got stomped, whatever happened. If it means talking about that from a standpoint of healing it and overcoming it, man, let's go. Let's go, because again, listen, we got to take the riches out the grave. We got to take it out the grave. It's right here on earth. And it doesn't make sense for all of us on this earth to have this extraordinary potential and greatness in us, and we are doing absolutely nothing with it. You're taking it to the grave with us. I'm going to end it with this. Les Brown, back to Les Brown. He talked about, he said, he quoted this from someone. He said, the ideal desire of a man or a woman is when they get to the end of their days, that standing around their bed is all of their loved ones. Absolutely. Absolutely. He said, but what if? Now, if you don't kick your butt out, here's the other part. If you don't walk in your greatness, here's the other part. If you don't move, here's the other part. What if when you get to the end of your days, instead of your loved ones standing around your bed, you have standing around your bed all of the dreams, all of the visions, all of the businesses you could have built, all of the things that you could have become, all of the innovations that you could have been a part of, all of the trailblazing that you could have done, all the differences that you could have made. And they standing around your bed and they saying, this could have become if you would have did X, Y, Z. This could have happened if you would have did this. But because you didn't move in your greatness, but because you didn't move in your extraordinary potential, we got to die with you. Is that what you want your life to be like? I don't. With that being said, I love every last one of y'all. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Until we meet again, be well. Do the next right thing. God bless you. And if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. See y'all next time. Deuces.